Well, good evening to each and every one of you. As you enter into the sanctuary, we ask that you would quickly find a seat at this time. Good evening to each and every one of you. If you are one of the candidates that will be presenting this evening, on the front row to my left, there are sections prepared for you with reserved seating. So if you are one of the candidates that will be presenting tonight, will you please come forth and be on the front row? Once again, we say good evening to each and every one of you, and welcome to the at-large City Council Candidate Forum. As you are getting yourselves seated, do me a favor, if you will, quickly get to your seat if you can. I won't treat this like church, but if you can get to your seat really quickly, that would be great. And look down your row and get acquainted with someone who you're sitting next to. Just give them your name, shake their hand if you haven't done that thus far. As you're getting acquainted with your neighbor, for those of you who are online watching, we say welcome to you this evening as we present the at-large candidate forum. Springfield is in the city of elections right now. We're in the time of election, and we wanted to come together, various organizations, to present this at-large candidate forum. As we begin, let's go to God in prayer. Even though we're at a candidate forum, we can still open up since we're in church with prayer. So let's pray together. God, I thank you for our time together. I pray your blessings upon us as we meet tonight. We pray for each and every person and candidate. In your name we pray, amen. Before we get started, I just want to offer a word of welcome and thanks for those of you who are here. Tonight, this is not a St. John's event, but this has been put together by several other entities. We want to celebrate the Pastors Council of Springfield. Can we celebrate? And our president, the Reverend Catherine Cummings, is here. We also partnered with the Pioneer Valley Project. Would they please raise your hand or stand at this time? The NAACP of Springfield, we partnered with them, and Bishop Swan is here. We also partnered with the Divine Nine of this area. Would all Divine Nine please stand so we can hear you? There we go. And we also partnered with, for this event, the wonderful, the outrageous, the outstanding Divine Divas of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated of Springfield. I call them outrageous in a good way. They are outrageous in a good way, so we're so grateful to have them. And to all of our elected officials who are here tonight, would you please stand? Those of you who are not running, but all of our other elected officials. All right. Good to see you. Thank you so much. At this time, we will have our introduction of our moderators by Ms. Sonia Shaw. She will introduce those who are moderating tonight, and then she will take us further after that. Can we give her a round of applause as she comes?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out. As Pastor Wright said, I am Sandra Shaw, and I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our moderators. First, we have Mr. Wesley Days, Jr. Wesley is a Western Mass native and a recent graduate of Emerson College. Prior to returning to Springfield, Wesley worked as a content producer at NBC 10 Boston. He also served as an intern with NBC News during his time with the network. Wesley worked with the Today Show and the network Special Reports Unit. He also served as the tape producer to Meet the Press reports. And if you're a religious watcher of the Today Show, you would have got a glimpse at Wesley on one of their episodes. He was on it. In July, Wesley became the newest morning reporter for the Western Mass News. You can catch him Monday through Friday from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. So you early birds, be sure to turn on Western Mass News to catch our own, because when they're from Springfield, they are our own Wesley. And with Wesley, we have Reverend Dr. Terilyn L. Curry Avery, affectionately known as TLC, all in one. She is an ordained minister and a licensed psychologist, a TEDx speaker, and author. With that, she is currently the pastor of the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Presbyterian Church. Now, she helps leaders discover how their sphere of influence can change the status quo and dismantle racism. She is the author of Dismantling Racism, Healing Separation from the Inside Out, and Sacred Intelligence. The essence of sacred, selfish, and shared relationships. That's a mouthful. She is also the host of the Dismantle Racism on Talk Radio, New York City. So please give our moderators for this evening a round of applause.
Good evening, everybody. So at this time, what I'd like to do, we are going to have two groups of questions tonight presented, and I would like for the first group to please take the stage, and then we will describe for you the rules for the evening. So I'd like to invite to the stage Councilwoman Walsh, Mr. Juan Latore, Ms. Nicole Coakley, Ms. Deborah Fletcher, Mr. Will Naylor, Mr. Jose Delgado, and Mr. Charles Stokes. And you will find your names in the seats, so please sit in the order in which your name appears. Thank you so much. So as you can see, we have really a full slate for tonight. And we want to make sure that we keep things moving in a timely manner. So each candidate will have 1 minute to do an opening statement. And then when we start the questioning, you will have 1 minute, 30 seconds to answer each question. We will interrupt you if you tend to be a little bit long-winded, because we want to keep things moving. And it's not that we're trying to be rude. We want to honor your time, and we want to honor the people's time, and we want you to keep flow. Okay? So we're going to begin with Councilwoman Walsh. If you would, please give us your 1 minute opening statement.
Do you want us to stand or sit?
Whatever you feel like doing. But just keep in mind your 1 minute.
Has already started?
And
Okay,
right
we're going to make this fast. Well, I want to thank all the groups that have invited us here tonight to St. John's. St. John's is a place where I feel very welcome, and it's so nice to look out in the audience to see so many people I know, who I've worked with, who I've worshiped with, and sometimes argued with, but I think we all share the same passion, which is why I'm running, and that's to make Springfield a good place for all our residents to live, work, and raise a family, as my husband and I have the opportunity to. Thank you. Don't forget to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Walsh. Mr. Latore.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Juan Francisco Latoria III, and it's a real honor to be here in historic St. John's Church. I was born, raised, educated, and I am invested in the city of Springfield. I work professionally as an engineer, and I have provided through my entire adult life service to Springfield through my work with a number of different nonprofits across the city. I'm passionate about public service. I believe it's important that if you believe you have something to provide to your fellow residents, that you stand up, raise your hand, and acknowledge your willingness to serve. And I'm running for the Springfield City Council because I want to make sure that Springfield stays affordable, that it stays safe, that it stays vibrant, and that it stays hopeful. I'm so thankful to be here tonight on the stage with so many wonderful people, and I'm thankful for all of you for being here, to showing an interest in your city government, because it is your city government. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Coakley, yes.
Coakley. I am born in Springfield. I'm born here in Springfield, raised in Charleston, South Carolina, and came back here in '99. I have my associates in law enforcement, my bachelor's in human service, my master's in mental health, psychology, and counseling, and I'm currently completing my doctorate degree in business administration with a concentration in organizational leadership. And my dissertation is on women of color and leadership roles and the effects of work-life balance. Why am I doing that? Because it's time for a change in Springfield. We need like-minded people like myself that are not afraid to be at that table and make sure our community is receiving the information they need, make sure that people like myself that have lived experiences are making sure that things are getting done in the city of Springfield. I am running because I care, I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I'm a mother of 5, and you better believe when you vote for me, you are voting for the #1 person that you know will get the job done, and you will not be disappointed.
Thank you. Ms. Fletcher.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I'm born and raised in the city of Springfield. In 2011, during our devastating tornado, I am the candidate that helped removed. During 2011, our devastating tornado, I am the candidate that helped with the removal of our trees. We're strong people. Learning and understanding politics, it's my duty to get involved. Working with all community policing, it's important. People from different backgrounds, opportunities, professional development, mentorship, training, and growth are the shoulders of all of you who have helped grow our city. And absolutely, I am confident bringing more great ideas. You can make a difference if you are from where the people are suffering, sharing the same disparities and experience.
Thank you. Mr. Naylor.
Good evening. I'm Will Naylor, and it's an honor to share the stage with all of these great individuals and thoroughbreds. You know, I'm almost tempted to pull out my secret weapon and sing a note, but you're not, you're not electing me to City Hall to sing, but to make a difference, and I care to make a difference. I've been a lifelong resident of this city. I've been in ministry with my Bishop Leonard Naylor in Holy Redeemer Cathedral for over 35 years. I've been in public health for over 25 years. I've assisted our folks in our community to support their recovery. I fought the fight with AIDS and COVID. I've been in the trenches. I've been in places where angels fear to tread. I've been down there. And so now, you know, I would like the opportunity to go into the room where decisions are made. I know where the money, I have a good idea of where the money should be spent and could be spent, and I would love to have the opportunity to have the privilege of your vote so that I can be a new voice in our beautiful city.
Thank you, Mr. Devato.
Hello, hello. All right, perfect. Well, good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you to the Council of Churches for setting up this great event. I also am happy to be here in St. John's because I've been a visitor to both the Legacy building and the new building for a number of years. My name is Jose Delgado. I'm born and raised in the city of Springfield, like many folks up here. But my story is a little bit different. I grew up with a single mom, wasn't connected, didn't have a granddaddy or a father or somebody who was an elected official or the police commissioner or whatnot. I got to where I'm at through hard work. I graduated in 2008 with my bachelor's degree. I did everything that people said I should do, and I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job to save my life, and it was only through the help of folks that were connected that I met later on that I was like, wow, you've got to be connected to get a job. So I'm running because I'm still that same young man, because if that was happening to Jose Delgado, that's happening to your sons, your daughters, and I want to make sure that everybody that lives in the city who wants to do the right thing has an opportunity to progress, and that's why I'm running for city council.
Thank you, Mr. Delgado.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charles Stokes. My primary purpose for running for city council is to deal with the epidemic called gun violence. In the last 5 years, there's been 100 unsolved homicides of Black and Latino residents here in the city of Springfield. Presently, how the city council is constructed and this mayor, they have no solutions for the gun violence that is an epidemic in our community. I'm running for city council to make sure that the gun violence is decreased by working with the mental health organization, of helping our young people. I'm meeting now with the influencers in our community, and we're going to have a peace treaty in the city of Springfield. Nothing will get resolved in the city of Springfield with gun violence unless we have a peace treaty, unless we have a mayor who is considerate of our needs, and we reconstruct this city council. Presently, as it exists, and those who are on the city council now, we have heard no solutions. We just had a murder up the street the other night. We haven't heard from the mayor. We haven't heard from the city council, the Health and Human Service Department. We need to do more. Our children are dying in these streets.
Thank you so much to each one of you. I want to just remind our audience, if you would, please like and share what's happening now on live stream. Go to St. John's Facebook page and stream it all over the city of Springfield, please.
So as my co-moderator, Reverend Avery, already told you guys tonight, that you will each have the same question. You will have 90 seconds to answer this question, and we're going to begin with Councilwoman Walsh. Councilwoman Walsh, how should we measure the success of elected officials in terms of racial relations? The second part of that question is, what are the indicators, or how do we assess one's success?
Well, that's really an interesting question, because first you have to understand what the city council can do. The city council can't always solve all the problems, but the city council can certainly be advocates. They can be visionaries, and they can be the people in the community that are out there, as I have been, listening to people, working with people throughout the city, always putting the city interest first, and working within city departments to solve all the quality of life issues that people face. And the city council has much broad authority to be out there in the community and interact, but they can't always solve all the problems. The best thing you can ask is for people to be fair, independent, and honest, and I'd like to say that I have been that.
Okay. Mr. LaTorre?
Thank you so much for your question. Look, race is an extremely complicated topic in this country, in this state, and in this city, and we have to acknowledge that in some areas, we've made incredible progress, and in other areas, we've got a lot of work to do. I was just reading an article before I came in here about a young man in Montgomery, Alabama, who was simply trying to do his job and asked some people to move their boat so that he could dock his boat in the place that he wanted to do it, and he got beat up. And his fellow citizens of Montgomery, Alabama had to come to his defense to protect him and to say, no, not in 2023 in the United States of America. And so the first thing that any city councilor can do, that we can measure, is to simply say, we are tired of racism. We are tired of bigotry. We are tired of unequitable solutions. And we are going to do everything in our power to make a change, to make our city more equitable, more just, more safe for everyone in our community. Councilor Walsh brings up a great point. The city council cannot do unilaterally everything to eradicate all the problems in our lives, but we can elect strong leaders from diverse backgrounds with unique experiences and watch them. Are they in the community? Are they accessible? Are they accountable? Are they doing everything they can, despite their own imperfections, to strive to work with everyone in the community on solutions and make sure everyone is heard? Thank you.
Ms. Coakley?
I was waiting for you to call my name. So how can we measure? Ask the community. We need to get out and ask the community members, how do you feel the person that's elected right now, how do you feel they're doing? What success stories do you have about them? What do you know that they're currently doing? What have they done in the past, and what are they doing now? You need to make sure that you speak up. We, as elected officials, because I'm going to be elected, we got to make sure that we get out there and speak to our community members. We got to make sure that you know that your voice matters. What you come to us about, you got to know that it's not going to sit on the table and we're not going to make sure it's pushed forward. You got to know that whatever matters to you matters to us. You got to know that we are here fighting for you. Don't elect somebody based on popularity, because you're going to be disappointed later on. You better believe yourself and know that if you don't know who Nicole Coakley is, you better Google me. You better look on Facebook. You better call me, because on the back of my card is my personal cell phone number. So you don't got no reason not to know who Nicole Coakley is. If you want change, you better get out there and vote. Make your voice be heard. Know who you're voting for. Don't vote for me because my name is Nicole Coakley. Vote for me because you know that girl about to put in some work.
Ms. Fletcher?
I apologize, and then I'm unapologetic. I don't believe in that's the solution to any of it. City council members are the first level of government for all of us. That is just the level. And so there's a lack of understanding in politics, and then before you can allocate funding or agree with the mayor, you must understand the proposal and see the people. So for my opinion, I don't understand a lot of the noise, because if city council members receive the proposals that just a mayor can say whatever he wants. If I am elected to be in charge to make sure that people are seen, then I'm not going to approve anything until the mayor can go and take it back and bring it back where there's people involved. So this body, this current city council body for some time now, have just been agreeing with Dominic Sarno, who is a wonderful mayor. But you can't bash a mayor when city council members have given him the power to do whatever he wants. So that's the first level of government and the lack of understanding. As far as race goes, I believe each and every one of us in here have our different origin and heritage. I do believe that no one really can speak for an African American if you're not an African American. My Caucasian family members, they can't really understand what my heritage or my upbringing or my disparities are, because we're all grown different. So I just have a different outlook, because I guess I do understand politics, and that is most important.
Thank you, Ms. Fletcher. Mr. Naylor?
Very good. I come from a behavioral health background. I just had the opportunity to earn my master's degree in counseling, and I'm a licensed alcohol drug counselor to the first degree. You know, I understand that race oftentimes is a false construct that's designed to be to handicap us systematically and to cause us to hold our heads down in fear. It's easy to see what's wrong with our city, but I see some things that are right with our city. It gave me the opportunity to earn that degree. It gave me an opportunity to help build ministry in our community, to help feed the hungry, to visit the sick, and to clothe the naked. We've done those things over 35 years. You know, I don't sit in the ivory towers of rooms where the thoughts or ideas are discussed, but I've been on the ground where the solutions are implemented. So, you know, if I have the opportunity to continue to work, I have a strong work ethic. You know, I just don't visit the churches and then visit the bars after I visit the church. You know, but I abide in the church. I abide in our community. I visited our clinic, our neighborhood councils, it touched my heart to see the diversity of our city. So I've been all down on the South End and made all kinds of friends, knocked on doors, and just, just fell deeper in love with our city. So, it's more of a challenge to be conversive than it is to be decisive. And that's what type of councilman I will be, bringing folks together.
And just a reminder to all of our candidates, 90 seconds is your allotted time.
Can you repeat the question too?
Of course I can. The question is, how should we measure the success of elected officials in terms of racial relations? The second part of that question is, what are the indicators, or how do we assess one's success?
All right, well, I do agree that you have to speak to the community. I'm somebody who, was a first-generation college student, and I can remember still to this day being one of the only kids of color in my classes. So I've been in rooms where I felt like I was by myself, and it starts with working together. There's this, and I'm gonna be 100 with y'all. Can I be 100? There is this sentiment in this city that we have to pit one group against another group against another group, and I'm tired of that, right? Because we all are facing significant challenges, and I think what's happening is, and what you're seeing is folks that are in charge are using that to our detriment. And if we don't wake up, we're gonna be doing the same thing for another decade, another 20 decades. So what I think we need to do is start collaborating together. I agree, is we need collaboration. We need to work together with our community groups. I see Reverend Swan here. I mean, we've got to work with our organizations and find out what's really going on. I'm not going to say that I know everything that's going on in the community that I'm understanding. I know from my personal experience, but we need to work together on that. We need to look at different policies. So I've had the pleasure of working for a nonprofit that helped aspiring entrepreneurs and helped them get a leg up versus waiting for somebody to give them a handout. And the other piece I've done is I had the privilege of working for the Governor Baker, and we looked at our procurement opportunities, and we looked at policies that kept people of color and other folks out of the process because it only benefited a few, and we were able to work on those policies to make sure that we remove those barriers so that folks can make a living for themselves and not waiting for those opportunities to come to them. So I think that's what we need to do, and we need to continue to support each other. And what's up, Mr. Days? Because I can say I knew you back when on Stick Radio Show, not just intern and all that. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Delgado. Mr. Stokes, I can. How should we measure the success of elected officials in terms of racial relations? The second part of that question, what are the indicators, or how do we assess one's success?
Thank you. So how do we measure this success? If we look at the city of Springfield, we have this thing called Burr Block, Sycamore, Ave, Knox Ave, and the Solids on School and High Street. 5 of the worst neighborhoods in the city of Springfield. You know what they all have in common? They're African American and Latino American citizens. Downtown and other areas outside of here don't go through the same problems that we go through. So this is how we measure success, with empirical data that tells us what this success is. How do we measure this success when we have a police superintendent who says there's no systematic racism in the Springfield Police Department? There has been no residents outside of the African American community and the Latino community that has been killed by the Springfield Police Department, except for us, in the history of Springfield. So how do we measure this success? We're the only ones dying in the streets. Do we hear anything from the mayor? Do we hear anything from the Democratic Party? So we measure the success based on the people who are suffering. Our people are suffering, so we base the success of this city and this mayor as an F. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for answering that. And just once again, I just want to remind you of your 90 seconds to respond to the next question. And we will begin with Councilwoman Walsh. What opportunities and community transformation would need to exist in order for people who are Black and brown to thrive in Springfield?
Very the city. And as I look at it from a city council point of view, I think you need to see diversity on all our commissions. And I think there's tremendous diversity on the Springfield City Council. And I do want to stick up for the City Council, because if anybody has been to our meetings, there's certainly not a lot of agreement. People are independent, and they make their own choices depending on what they think is best for the city, and not whether or not it comes from the corner office. But I think there needs to be more opportunities for people to reach out to leaders, for people to be present in the community, in the churches, in the schools. And one of the things that I think we need to do is to strengthen our police commission, because as you know, the Springfield City Council fought very hard, even though, excuse me, the mayor did not want it. The Springfield City Council fought very hard to have a police commission reestablished, because my experience with the police commission was this is a place where ordinary citizens across the city and people who were from diverse backgrounds would feel comfortable approaching the police, coming forward with their issues and their questions, and getting answers for their community. And unfortunately, I think there needs to be a lot more done in that aspect with the police commission. So I think it's very important to be present, to be available.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilwoman
to be open.
Walsh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Latore.
Thank you for the question. You know, I think our most important responsibility is that we make sure that in everything that we do in the city of Springfield, as we look at who is at the table, does the table look like the city of Springfield? And so when we talk about transformative opportunities, I have a number of different ideas. One major concern that's been brought up in the last couple of months is the concerns about mental health in our public schools, the lack of mental health trained professionals, and whether or not those individuals are culturally competent for our students. We need to listen to our students, because if our students feel safe, they feel listened to, if they feel appreciated, they would be able to drive the next generation of decisions in our city. I agree that we need to make sure that all of our boards are fully staffed by people throughout the community and that they represent the entire community. I think when we talk about the police department, we have made strides in the day-to-day patrolman of meeting a police department that looks like the city of Springfield, but we need to do a lot more with the leadership of the police department and other organizations within the city of Springfield, because make sure that it looks like the city of Springfield. Because when you do those things, when you have leaders at all levels of government that look like the city of Springfield, we don't make some of those mistakes that you sometimes see, where you realize and you get to the end of something and say, you know what, we didn't consider that person's opinion. We didn't consider the cultural sensitivity of this. And if we keep doing those things, all we're going to do is inspire a new generation of young people to say, we don't have faith in the system.
Thank you so much. Ms. Coakley.
We need easier access to resources. We need to make sure that we are bringing our community members to the table to help us make these decisions, because the elected officials that are elected right now are making decisions and not talking to community members and getting y'all involved and asking y'all what needs to be done. But me and Nicole Coakley, I need to talk to you guys, because nobody can tell you what needs to be done if they're not even there living in that environment to even try to help you get it done. We got to make sure that we are listening to our community members. We don't need to be making decisions for y'all when y'all got to live there. I live on Bristol Street, honey. Don't come telling me how I need to live over here if you ain't living on this side of town, because you don't know what I go through over here. We got to make sure that we are holding folks accountable. We need to make sure, as far as getting our community involved, help them build coalitions. That we know over here on Bristol Street, we got to combat gun violence. Okay, let's get the community members on Bristol Street involved. Let's help them build a coalition and teach them how they can get things done, and assign one of our city council members to Bristol Street. You got Bristol Street. I don't care if it's a LeVar clique or whoever it is that's over there. Any one of our city councilors can go over there and work with the Bristol Street and help them get things together. It's all about unity. Don't say, I don't live over there, that ain't my problem. It's your problem, because our kids got to walk these streets of Springfield.
Ms. Fletcher. The question is, what opportunities and community transformation would need to exist in order for people who are black and brown to thrive in Springfield?
Question, thank you. I am hopeful to reverse this city from sanctuary. That is what the overall problem is. City council members, this current body, and the body before this, they actually voted and chose to stand with supporting illegals on our tax dollars. Is why we're in a sanctuary city. Second to that, there's an organization here, I can't really remember the name of it, that said Springfield would be safer city tonight. Declared at the end of the day, love won over fear. Well, I have to totally disagree with all that because a sanctuary city is a division for a protection of the people and a safety net for police. So in the law in the land of America, you can't have a sanctuary city and you want to protect police. So it's either or. So it's really not hard yet because sanctuary cities protect illegals and they do not protect African Americans. Sanctuary city puts illegals against police and safety. And our city is unsafe because we have 2 houses full of Democrats, 1 sanctuary city, right, a state. The house is full, the state is full of Democrats, and they went on vacation until fall for your guns. So, like, let's keep it 100 if that's what we're really gonna do. And I am hopeful to reverse this city back from sanctuary, and that's just business and protection of the city. Clock went out, but I'm all done.
Thank you so much. Mr. Naylor.
Well, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of intellectual power on worrying about the commissioner because she's about to retire in a year anyway. And so hopefully, you know, we'll be able to have some input on who the next commissioner will be. I had so many calls in the midnight hour to go down to the hospital to minister to many families in Springfield where their sons was murdered in these streets. I've had to preach funerals all across this town of young men, my blood, my nephews that was murdered in these streets. I've wept with them. I've cried at the graveside. So now one of the things that, you know, would be a solution to help our young people is jobs. It's hard to be happy when you're broke. And one thing we have learned through 35 years of ministry and 25 years of community work up in this city, working with New North Citizens Council, being in the trenches and being on the front yard, you got to work. Work. And so I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to work in this city to be able to stand as the man that I am today. And so it takes money and opportunity for our young men so that they can grow and invest in our city so that they can ease the mental stress of the impact of the struggle that poverty endures in our city. So it's about jobs and it's about money that will help our young people.
Thank you, Mr. Naylor. Mr. Delgado.
I agree with jobs. That's number one. But I think one of the first things the city can do is communication. I think there's a lot of resources that the city puts out, that the state government puts out, that the federal government puts out that can help a lot of folks in many aspects. And a lot of times folks don't know about them or they learn about them too late. So I think communicating and making sure that those are getting to all the folks and through all the mediums is the number one thing I think we can do to start off. The second thing is, while I agree with diversifying our boards, it's no point in diversifying them if you're just going to put a bunch of yes men on these boards and just vote things down. I've actually had the experience of actually trying to help and diversify boards and get some folks that actually have the talent and are qualified to do some of the jobs that they say to do versus token folks in for whatever. Jobs, I'll agree with you on the jobs, but I'll say it's hard to get in trouble when you're busy working and you're tired after your shift. So jobs is important as well. But the other thing I think we also need to be looking at are opportunities in the trades. I think we've, for decades, have pushed college, and college is great. I'm a first-generation college student, but college is not for everybody. And I feel like there are a lot of folks that we have a lot of talented people that create really great things, and if we could put more investment into the trades, even in particular for our folks that are re-entering our community and helping them become their own owners as well so that they don't have to depend on. I
Thank
think
you
those
so
are things
much,
we can
Mr.
start.
Delgado. Thank you. Mr. Stokes. Yes, I will repeat the question. What opportunities and community transformation would need to exist in order for people who are black and brown to thrive in Springfield?
Great question. So the first thing we must do is talk about what we don't want to talk about, which is post-traumatic slave syndrome, white supremacy, systematic racism, and injustice in this city, right? You have to look at the self-esteem of a man, right? The self-esteem of our young men, because of white supremacy and systematic racism, they have no self-esteem. So we have to build up a self-esteem of a man. And once you build up a self-esteem of a man, they'll be able to do better. One of the things why young people break the law is not because they're trying to get rich, but because they have been closed out of the economic development here in the city of Springfield, right? And so we sell drugs because we're left out. And when that man looks at his woman and his children, and he doesn't feel like he can take care of him and her and his children, then he's gonna go by any means necessary to get this money. So what we must do first and foremost is transform them by the renewing of their mind, letting them know that they are African, letting them know that they're not niggers, and let them know that they're not dogs. Once we change the self-esteem of a man, then they'll be able to work. You cannot give somebody a job who's thinking about, when I get off of this job, I'm going to get me a half ounce of crack cocaine and I'm going to bag it up and sell it because I want to get rich quick. We have to change the mindset of our young people, and we have to deal with white supremacy and systematic racism. It exists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stokes.
Our next question for Councilwoman Walsh. As a city councilor, what legislative power will you have, or will you continue to have, to improve the lives of residents in the city of Springfield?
Well, the legislative power of the City Council, the responsibilities of the main responsibilities of the Springfield City Council are land use and the budget. I think the budget is a tool for the Springfield City Council to fund programs, to diversify, and we have to realize what city councilors can do or not do. But I also think that the City Council has, and I feel this very strongly, that we also have a moral responsibility to a lot of the issues that we are discussing here tonight to give people opportunities. The City Council, you know, we cannot fund programs. We may have wonderful ideas for programs, and I see some of my colleagues out here, like Councilor Govan, who has started a mental health commission, and Councilor Whitfield, who's very outspoken on these issues. But the City Council, unfortunately, we cannot fund any programs. We can only support. Our responsibility with the budget is to cut the budget. So I think we have to be open to hearing from the community what they think the priorities are. And that, I think, we need to make sure that we have people realize that they have the opportunity to come to the council, to come to public speak, and to voice those concerns and to see what we can do to work together. And that's what I would like to see. And I do think, to be fair, that the City Council is really open and takes action when people come down. I want to stick up for my colleagues because I think we are a very diverse
Thank you,
board
Councilwoman Walsh.
that get along together because we care about the same thing, making the city of Springfield a better place.
Thank you. Mr. LaTorre.
Thank you for the question. Look, there's two key things that a city councilor must be willing to do. The first one is to recognize is that we control the purse. We control your tax dollars. And when we talk about affordability in the city of Springfield, one of the major concerns I'm hearing is that taxes for your properties are going through the roof. Your average property taxes have gone up by over $1,000 in the last 8 years, and it's because your city budget has gone up by over 54% in 10 years, while the population of this city has grown by about 1.5% over the same time. We are spending a whole lot more money to do the same thing. And if you look at cities like Worcester and Hartford and every other comparable city, they're doing as much, if not a little bit more, and they're doing it for a lot less. And we need to be asking the question of what is the things we need to do and what are the things that we want to do, just like each and every one of us has to do with our own homes and our own budgets. And that's one thing you can promise that you'll hear from me. The other thing we need to really focus on with affordability in the city of Springfield is housing. And I think at times this city council really can't figure out whether or not we are ready to acknowledge that we are 11,000 units short of housing in this greater Springfield community. And we have to say to the developers, we want you to be responsible, we want you to be green, we want you to make sure you hire diverse workforces from the city of Springfield, but we want you to come here because we need you, otherwise our rents are never going to go down. Thank you.
Ms. Copley.
As commissioner on the Hampden County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, I'm going to continue fighting. I've always been fighting, and I will continue to do that as your next city councilor. Not only do I fight for women and girls, I'm going to fight for my community. We need to make sure that we follow the money. We need to make sure that all individuals, all organizations in this community got access to the money that's being allocated. We got to make sure that the money is not just going to one organization. It's not going to the same individuals. It's not going to the same company. It's not going to businesses that don't even need it. We got to make sure that the money that's being allocated is going where it's needed. We got to make sure that we're the ones making those decisions. We got to make sure that our community knows and understands what the money is doing in our community. And if you don't feel that it's being effective, you need to speak up so we can make sure it's brought to the table so we can work on it and get it fixed. There is no reason for us to be here in the city of Springfield and suffering. We got to make sure the money is going into our education. We got to make sure that it's going into our mental health. We got to make sure that it's going into jobs. We got to make sure that those that are incarcerated are prepared to come back into society. We cannot look at them and put our head down and say, they don't belong here. Don't go ahead and label them. They are human just like us. They deserve a second chance. So you got to make sure you do that. I ain't afraid to tell my story. I got 6 brothers, one doing 16 years, one faced a double homicide murder, and others that have been in jail. I'm not afraid.
Ms. Fletcher.
The question, please, I do apologize.
The question is, as a city councilor, what legislative power will you have to improve the lives of residents in the city of Springfield?
Safety is the #1 priority. I am hopeful, and as a city council member, for the people, it's my duty to work with people who write our proposals. This current city council body voted against property taxes for commercial. So I have 90 minutes, so I'm 30 minutes or whatever. I'm so seconds, so I'm not going to get into
90 seconds.
to all that stuff. But it's important to remove driven division by working together. And there's a serious lack of understanding of politics in our city. And I'm hopeful, friendly, accessible to all residents. And I'd like to change that because we shouldn't shut out residents because we get elected. We're in this together. And most important is I do have a fruitful working relationship with everyone in City Hall. Transparency will enhance and develop rather than social divisiveness and division. Did I answer the question?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Naylor.
All right, yes, it is important to know what a city council person can do. And, you know, from my study and research of the duties of what a city council person can do, we know that businessmen don't pave roads. And so we know that that's part of the preview of city council. We know that city council goes over that budget. They dissect it. And they make decisions. They call certain things into question to make sure that the monies are being allocated into with fairness and into the places where it needs to be. And so, you know, as a city council person, if I have the opportunity to serve, I will certainly do my due diligence. One thing I do understand from studying the city council as it is. It's important to have good relationship. I should be able to pick up that phone and ask to make sure that my mother's street is lit up. I should make sure that be able to pick up the phone to make sure that Mason Square is lit up. So if my mama, if she was still with us, if she wanted to go to the store, she wouldn't have to walk in the dark. Research. One of the things that I noticed is that statue up at the Basketball Hall of Fame, they didn't do the research to find out that, you know, certain, the foundation should have been laid right. Research is critical, and I will do my due diligence to do that research.
Mr. Delgado.
Question is,
as a city councilor, what legislative power will you have to improve the lives of residents in the city of Springfield?
So I agree with some of the comments that were already said. I mean, obviously, as a city council, you approve the budget, you can cut stuff from the budget, but you're also the legislative body of the city, so you can actually legislate. You can create ordinances, you can create things. So someone mentioned something about housing, right? Housing is a big issue, not just in the city of Springfield, but all over the place. It's a supply and demand issue, but I'm already seeing communities and city councils in other cities that are using their legislative power to try to fix that, right? How do we look at the zoning to change whether or not a minimum lot needs to be 5,000 square feet or not, so that we can accommodate more housing, so we can have more people have access. So you can legislate and create ordinances, and there's a lot of different things around that. But obviously, you know, you're going to research whatever is going on, and you got to get the information back to the people. If you don't get the feedback from the people, how do you know whether or not people are going to actually approve of it or not? And sometimes, I'm not a city councilor, so I don't know how it works, but I would imagine that they hear from some folks in the community, but we need to hear from all folks in the community so that we are not being swayed in one particular voting direction versus another. So that's what, it's research, it's actually legislating. Yeah, that's what I have.
Thank you. Mr. Stokes.
Yeah, so the first thing I would do if elected to city council is I would walk into Tim Sheehan's office of the economic development and ask him what is his vision for black people with Build Back Better Springfield. If you look at the city of Springfield, up and down the Masons, the State Street quarter, Chestnut Street quarter, the Fontaine brothers and the Picknellies are getting all this money, there is a monitoring ordinance in the city of Springfield that states you must have a particular amount of African Americans, Africans, Latinos, and others. But when you look up and down these job sites, there's nobody look like us on this job site. And so if I'm elected to city council, what I'm going to do is empower the residents. And we're going to march down to City Hall, and our people are going to get jobs. Everybody is getting jobs in the city of Springfield but us, unless you make Dominic Sarno happy. If you cater to him, he'll make sure that select people receive the resources in our community. But if you don't make him happy, if you don't kiss his ring finger, then you will not be a part of the economic development. So we need to march down there together and say, listen, we need to be a part of the economic development here in the city of Springfield. We have to depend on us. No benevolent anybody is going to march in these doors and do anything for us if we don't want to help us. Thank you.
So at this time, we are going to have a 1-minute closing statement from each of you, and we will begin with you, Councilwoman Walsh.
Well, as I started, I will stand to the end. I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight and giving us the opportunity to share our stories and our experience. Being on the Springfield City Council is a privilege. I am running because I love Springfield, I love representing the city, and I believe that I have the experience and the commitment to move Springfield forward, and I would appreciate your vote and support. And if you want to read about me, my flyers are out there.
Thank you. Mr. Latore.
Thank you so much for being here today. You know, I'm so thankful to be here. I feel truly blessed. I'm here standing on the shoulders of my ancestors. You know, my grandparents came to New York City from Puerto Rico in the 1950s, and my grandfather, you know, he had a job at the Waldorf Astoria as a back office waiter, because that was the best job a Puerto Rican could get in New York City in the 1950s, and he was damn proud of that job. And because of his hard work and sacrifice, Latore is standing before you with the opportunity to serve the city he loves. And I'm thinking about that so much again today. Again, my name is Juan Latore III. It would be an honor to earn your vote. I want to run for the city council and serve my residents because I believe I've put in the time through all of my work in the city. I have the talent through working across the city with different organizations, and I have the temperament to work with 12 other people and an administration to get things done. Please vote for me, Juan Latore, on September 12th, and you can visit me online at votelatore.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Latore. Ms. Coakley.
Our city is at a crossroad, and you have the power to change that. It's time to let your voice be heard. Get out and vote September 12th. I can't win this election by myself, but I can win it with your vote. Believe in me. Know that the person you put into office will get the job done. You don't have to worry about me being connected to nobody. You don't got to worry about me being around nobody's finger. You don't got to be worried about nobody controlling what comes out my mouth because I'm uncontrollable. I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to tell you like it is. You better believe it. Don't nobody control Nicole Coakley, so can't nobody tell you I got her under control because they don't. I'm going to make sure that things are taken care of because I got 5 kids, and my kids got to walk these streets, and right now it's unsafe. So we got to make sure that we are working together, okay? City council can't do it by themselves. We need y'all too, okay? So don't think that your vote does not matter. So on September 12th, vote Nicole Coakley.
Thank you, Ms. Coakley. Ms. Fletcher.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm optimistic that all forms of oppression are connected. You cannot fight against one form of injustice and not fight against others. It is my hope that privileged people use their privileges to move us forward. I'm very disappointed of all the applause about construction because when I say there's a lack of information and understanding with politics, it is just what I mean. So Dominic Sarno has nothing to do with construction. His name is Melvin Edwards. And then we have Mr. Flory. So it is important that we stop throwing all these daggers and acting like you know what's going on because I personally know if we need change, Springfield is the 2nd largest city of black people, right, in the state of Massachusetts, but we're 7 times divided. Now, I don't care who votes for who, but we're going to deal with transparency. And so transparency means that being honest. It means that saying, you know, what really is all about because you're talking about something.
Thank you, Ms. Fletcher. We have to move on, Mr. Naylor.
A change is gonna come, oh yeah. All right. All right. They put me under pressure, y'all. Well, my folks is from Mississippi. My folks is from Mississippi. Come on, Bishop Swan. Your folks is from Mississippi too. And they took the opportunity to build and grow. And now we have one of the greatest ministries in the city, Holy Redeemer Cathedral. I learned how to lead because I learned how to follow. And through my life experience, I just celebrated 65 years of being on this planet. And one thing I learned is to be disciplined. I have a refined approach to relationship building. I don't plan on going down to City Hall chambers and knocking over the apple cart, because if I knock over the apple cart, that means that none of us eat. So I have the decorum, and I stand on an unshakable platform of integrity in a sense of value, loyalty, and respect that I will.
Thank you so much, Mr. Naylor. We have to move on.
Now, you gave this preacher the mic. Now, you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
You're not going to hear me sing, but I'll be a backup dancer. So I'm going to say, like I said before, I'm born and raised in this city. I love this city. But every job that I've had has been about empowering folks. From my first opportunity as a AmeriCorps Vista volunteer, working with nonprofits and small business, all the way to my current role working for the Executive Office of Public Safety, where I'm actually going into the jails, talking to some of the incarcerated folks. So I believe in empowerment and upliftment, but I'm also a dad. right? I'm raising 2 kids in this city, like many of you, so I care what happens in this city. I care what, how their schools are looking like, because I want them to be able to succeed and far surpass what I ever did, because I surpassed my family. So, but I've worked in local government. I've had the opportunity to work in state government, but I've also had the opportunity to work in the private sector as well. So I'm taking all that experience, and I want to bring that to the city council to bring some more good folks on there, common sense, to help you guys. So hopefully you can vote for Jose.
Thank you so much.
JoseForSpringfield.com.
Mr. Stokes.
September the 12th is the most crucial election that's going to be in the history of the city of Springfield, Mass. I would like to be arrogant and conceited enough to think that voting for me really counts. The #1 vote that you must vote for is the change of the mayoral system here in the city of Springfield, right? Then secondly is me, Charles Stokes, right? Because the mayor has the power, and we need a mayor that's going to be able to work with the community and work with the city. Politics is a hand-to-hand combat. I'm not going to go down there and try to be friends with everybody. I'm going to try to fight for you and get what's right for you. I'm going to need your help in this upcoming election. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. If we want our city to be better, we're going to have to get up September the 12th, go to the polls, and vote for the change that we need. Stoke up the fires for change. Vote Charles Stokes for city council.
So I'd like to thank each and every one of you. And I want to ask you at this time, if you could just take your seats again in the audience. As we transition, I want to just remind you all of a couple of things. Please, if you have not done so already, please go to Facebook, like, and share this on live stream. We want everyone in our community to be informed about what the candidates are saying and doing. St. John's Facebook page, just go to that page, like, and share it. Also, voter registration table is in the lobby. If you are not registered to vote, do not leave this place tonight without registering to vote. Also, next Wednesday on the 16th at 6:00 p.m. at Mount Zion Baptist Church, you will have the mayoral forum. You do not want to miss that. Confirmed participants are Mayor Dominique Cerno, Representative Orlando Ramos, City Councilor Justin Hurst, City Councilor Jesse Letterman. So please make sure that you come out and bring someone else with you. You want to be informed. So at this time, I'd like to ask, please, if our second group of candidates could take the stage. Councilwoman Tracy Whitfield, Mr. Jerry Martin, Miss Kim Rivera, Miss Linnell Gasque, Mr. Brian Santinello, excuse me if I didn't pronounce that correctly, my apologies. Santinello, and Mr. Thomas Oakley, Mr. Edward Nunez. Okay, and also just reminding the candidates to speak into the microphone. Yeah. We don't, I think one person is missing.
Testing.
We're going to keep going. Okay. Okay. So we are going to start. Councilwoman Whitfield, we'll start with you. You have 1 minute for your opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Tracy Whitfield. I am running for re-election. I don't know. Hold on. Oh, my name is Tracy Whitfield. Can you hear me? Okay, here we go. All right, I don't got to be that loud. My name is Tracy Whitfield, and I'm running for re-election in the city that I was born, raised, educated, and that I love. I am going to continue to fight for transparency in the city of Springfield. So contrary to the popular belief of the candidates that were on the stage, I'm not the typical city councilor. I'm not the one who voted for property tax increase. I am the one that fought against gun violence since I've been on the city council. I am on Bristol Street. I do go to the church and the club and the senior center and the daycare and the public school and the charter schools. I'm going where the people are, no matter where that is, because what would Jesus do? He didn't sit up in the church. In fact, he probably didn't go to church, was probably in the synagogue. I'm going where the people are to make the real changes in the city of Springfield. It doesn't matter what race race, color, sexual gender. None of that matters. It matters that we are building a one team, a one Springfield to make changes in the city of Springfield. So I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing, and you can Google me.
Thank you, Councilman Whitfield. Councilwoman Whitfield. Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you all for being here today. Coming together as a community makes us not only better citizens, but better people. My name's Jerry Martin, and I'm running for City Council to be a new voice for Springfield. One of the proudest things in my life is being a graduate from the Central High School and being a product of the Springfield public school system. Being a graduate from Central exposed me to many different people from all different walks of life, the challenges that Springfield faces, and why I love it. I love my city, and I do believe our best days are ahead of us. I want to be able to attract new families, I want to keep young people here in the city, and I want to make life better for lifelong residents. We'll do that by making Springfield more affordable, by keeping our community safe, and struggle for a second.
It's okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Martin, for that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Also, candidates, let me remind you, when you speak, to keep the microphone to your mouth so that all of us can hear you in the audience, okay? So, Ms. Rivera, you're next.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Kim Rivera, and I wrote my notes on my phone, so I'm going to let you know why I'm running today. I'm running because I want to bring the community to City Hall. My story is Springfield's story, a community that is often overlooked, underestimated, and discounted, but always still rise. I want to use my experience in life from being homeless to homeowner and raising my 3 children to be successful in the city that I love. I want to bring that to City Hall. Thank you, and I hope for your vote on September 12th.
Mr. Santinello.
Yes, I'm Brian Santinello. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Springfield. I was educated here, went to elementary school here. I went to classical high school, and I also went to American International College. I'm a homeowner, I'm a taxpayer, and I'm also a job creator. I'm co-owner of Golden Years Home Health Care. We have over 600 employees. We're moving now into the city of Springfield at 222 Carew Street in Springfield, so we're going to be paying taxes in the city, and we're one of the largest minority-owned companies in the area. We have 600 employees. Most of those are minorities. Most of those are women, and they're great employees. I've been on the city council for 13 terms. I know it. I can hit the ground running. I was a park commissioner for 12 years. I was an election commissioner for 3 years, and with your vote, we can get Springfield moving in the right direction and creating real jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Santinello.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Oakley.
Check. Is that better? Cool. Good evening, everyone. My name is Thomas Oakley, running for city councilor at large. Just want to say thank you to St. John's for hosting this event and for everyone showing up. This is one of the most important things, is just the engagement. And I know there's a crazy amount of people that are running. I was glad we found a space that could hold all the candidates. But it's really good to see everyone so engaged in the process. I've gone through Springfield Public Schools. I'm a graduate of Sci Tech. I know a bunch of these people are Eagles from Central, but I graduated from Sci Tech. I live in Ward 2 with my wife. We just celebrated our 12 years of marriage. Thank you. And 3 kids, so when I'm not campaigning, I'm usually changing diapers. But I want to try to help build the type of Springfield that we can all be proud of, a Springfield that focuses on equity, the type of Springfield that makes decisions with people and not for people, and really a type of Springfield that all of our kids can be proud of, because really they're the future. So I'm going to end before I get cut off.
Mr. Nunez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ed Nunez, and I am not a lifelong resident of Springfield. I moved here when I was 10 years old. Moved here from the Bronx, New York. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Moved out here because, my dad left my mom when I was 5 years old, and it was pretty rough out there in the Bronx for the next 5 years. So my grandmother actually lived out here. She lived on Andrew Street, and my aunt lived on Norfolk Street, so we decided to move up here, and this has been home ever since. Love Springfield, love this community, went to school here. Why am I running? I'm gonna let the elephant out the room, I'm gonna be honest. When I moved out here, one of the first things I noticed was the division between the black and the Latino community. And it was foreign to me. I didn't understand it, because in New York, we balling on the same courts. Black and Latinos together, right? We were together. So it was foreign. I didn't understand it. I couldn't comprehend it. It was weird to me, right? And I don't get it, because for me, although we are of many different ethnic backgrounds, we are of one race, and that's the human race, right? We are all human. We are all here to be together, right? So I'm running so we can all get together
Thank you,
so that
Mr.
we can have
Nunez.
people that understand the impact, the things that happen in our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, we want to remind you that for the questioning, you have 90 seconds to answer the question. We're going to begin our first question with Councilwoman Whitfield. How should we measure the success of elected officials in terms of race relations? What are the indicators, or how do we assess one's success?
Thank you. So first, I want to thank everyone who put this on. I didn't say it before because I had some things to address that other candidates said, so I need to get that out the way. So I want to thank everybody who put this together, and I want to thank all of you for coming out. As far as race relations goes, we have to build a community not focused on race. There's a lot of economic opportunities out here when it comes to small business and equity, and where the funding and the resources are going is not being distributed to everyone that needs it. And so everyone in the city of Springfield needs to have what they need to be successful. That is what equity is. But with the current administration and things that's going on in the city of Springfield, that's not what's happening. And so the way that we measure it is when every child in the city of Springfield is succeeding in school, when every household has what they need, when rent is under control, when developers that come into the city of Springfield, we say no, because we do approve special permits. And if you're not giving back to the city of Springfield, we have the opportunity to deny your special permit. And then we can get local residents in to build our government up. So there are many different ways that we can measure the success of race relationships, and one of them is being unified. It doesn't matter what race we are. I don't subscribe to the black and brown divide. People call me and say, oh, because I'm pro-black. I'm a black woman. I'm going to be pro-black, but that doesn't mean I'm anti anything else. But it's the togetherness that we have to create and stop talking about that.
Thank you, Councilwoman Whitfield.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin.
So to continue where I left off, stimulate our economy. Anyway, but on a more serious note, I do want to address that, I'm a white man, and I will never know what it's like to be a person of color in Springfield or this country. But what I can promise is I will always come to the table in good faith and find out our commonalities and what brings us together. And I think the city councilwoman made a great point that how we can measure our success comes from our economic development and how we can prosper together, and how every man, woman, and child can have the same access to opportunity that I did growing up. And one of the things that I propose is a small business working group that we can create in the city council that will bring civic association presidents to the table, chamber of commerce, city councilors, and other community leaders. And ARPA money, that's a good one too. But about a month or so ago, I went to the city council, and I witnessed a Hispanic woman bring her proposition and proposal to the table. And she went about it the wrong way. She rented out the property first, draining all this money into it without getting the proper permits needed from the city council, the civic associations, and whatnot. That exchange of information and ideas to make us all prosper, to make our economy grow, that working together is what's going to help us in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Ms. Rivera. And please, I just want to remind you all to hold your mic up to your mouth so that everybody in the back of the room can hear what you're saying.
Can you repeat the question, please?
So the question is, how should we measure the success of elected officials in terms of race relations? What are the indicators, or how do we assess one's success?
Well, I just want to mention I'm a little shy. But the way I believe that we should measure it is we should be in the community. and not only be in the community and go to different sections, because in Springfield, if you notice, like we're all agreed, that only some sections get the opportunities than the other sections. We have to have like block captains. When you start with block captains and you almost make them, well, not make them, but you have them agree to have different kinds of meetings once a month and stuff, and listen to the community. And then you have the block captains come maybe quarterly and come into different meetings and let us hear what the community is talking about. They're going to feel more comfortable if they live in your community, they share your same roads, the lights, the same concerns. You're going to hear more of what the community wants. But just taking and making sure that one area in Springfield has more than the other is not the way to look at it. I also believe that as a city councilwoman, we should take and hold our own selves accountable. You know, I don't mind someone telling me, listen, Kim, I don't like that you did this and this and this. Now I can give you a reason. That gives me an opportunity to have a conversation with you and tell you why I was thinking that. But I don't want to make decisions without having information from the community. So I want to work with team captains and block captains, and that's how I feel we can hold ourselves accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santinello.
I think one of the ways to measure the effectiveness is what has an individual done in the past in an elected capacity. Over 25 years ago, I created the Committee on Race Relations in the city of Springfield. Mr. Stokes said earlier that when you look at the contracts that are given out in the city of Springfield, not enough go to minority contractors. I think that has to change because the city is 50% minority and minority. And that has to be reflected in the job creation in the city of Springfield. When it comes to department heads and deputies, I believe in inclusion there too. We have to do more to make sure that people of color are in those jobs. And if I'm elected again to the city council, I'll continue what I started 25 years ago when I created that Committee on Race Relations. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And before we start, so while I appreciate the correction, we want to make sure that people are not yelling out from the audience because we want to make sure that we can contain things and we just listen for what people are saying, okay? Thank you so much. Mr. Oakley.
I remember being in a training one time and they started by saying data don't lie. So when I think about elected officials and things that we can look to as it relates to race relations, I think it's important to look at things like home ownership. We know that that's one of the key things to create generational wealth. And that's something that we can look to for elected officials. How does that rate compare? I love a lot of what Tracy Whitfield says, but I disagree with not looking at race because the data, it's reflected in the data. In my profession, I'm the regional director for the Literacy Lab, and we focus on grade level reading. When you look at grade level reading for our youngest kids, white kids versus black and brown kids, there's a huge discrepancy. And in Springfield, we have less than 35% of our kids reading on grade level. So if you want to look at ways to measure success as an elected official, I would say you have to look at that as a data point. The same thing that I mentioned about home ownership. We've talked about ARPA funds. That was mentioned. How much of that, broken down by race, is being designated for folks who are trying to open or start black and brown companies? I mean, I think there's lots of different data points that you can look at in terms of our elected officials being successful as it relates to race relations.
Thank you, Mr. Nunez.
I'm gonna get you. Oh, I'm gonna get you.
Okay. Well, you know, I think if it's one thing in terms of race relations, it's economic development. Money's where it's at. My background is finance. I worked in banking for about 20 years. I was a commercial lender, analyzing budgets. It's in my DNA pretty much. And one of the things that I've noticed is the way that these funds are being dispersed in this community. We need to put money in our community, in our people's pockets is what we need to do. Quite frankly, is what we need to do. One of the ideas that I have is, you know, I've already started analyzing the budget where funds are being allocated. And although I do understand that the role of a city councilor is to review the budget and make cuts, we can't add to the budget. one of the things I want to see us do is create a micro lending program in this community. When I was a commercial lender, a lot of our people were said no to right off the back if they weren't asking for a certain dollar amount. 100,000 or up is basically was the threshold. A lot of these small businesses don't need $100,000. What they need is $35,000, $40,000 to buy that piece of equipment to take their business to the next level. So the idea that I had was, wouldn't it be nice if we can set aside about $100,000 from the general budget, but then leverage our resources? I think we miss an opportunity by not asking financial institutions to chip in $100,000. You're doing business in this community, chip in. Now my $100,000 grows to $1 million. Now I can create a small lending committee to approve or deny these microloans. Economic development. We need to put more businesses on State Street, develop this community,
Thank you so much,
and that's how you
Mr.
improve it.
Nunez. Thank you.
Moving on to our next question. Councilwoman Whitfield, we'll start with you. What opportunities and community transformation would need to exist in order for people who are black and brown to thrive in the city of Springfield?
Thank you. But first, I have to address what Michael said.
Minute 30, minute 30.
I know I got a minute, 30 seconds, but I had to say, when I was talking about no division, is who I help. I will help anybody from any race that comes to me. I wasn't talking about data because there's no one here that works harder on race disparities than me. When it comes to ARPA, there's no one who's been singing that harder than me and making sure that our people in the community gets their fair share at the ARPA funds. Nobody. And so I just wanted to clarify that I said when I work with people, I work with all people no matter what the race. Now, can you repeat the question real quick? Black and brown communities?
Black and brown communities. What opportunities and community transformation would need to exist in order for people who are black and brown to thrive in the city of Springfield?
And while I agree with the small business sector, I think that we deserve opportunities to be entrepreneurs and own our own businesses. So we do need that $1 million capital for us to grow. It's easier for us to grow with $1 million than it is with 30, 40,000. And I know this because every day I work with small businesses in the Black, Latino, and underserved populations to make sure that they get the resources that they need that has been traditionally withheld from them because of the systematic racism, because they have been held back, because of the redlining, because of all that has been happening in America. And I shorted myself on that time to just address Michael, but I'll come back to it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Whitfield. Mr. Martin.
Can you repeat the question just one more time?
Mike.
The mic's closer to my face. Got it.
Question is, what opportunities and community transformation would need to exist in order for people who are black and brown to thrive in our city?
So, like a lot of my colleagues up here said, when it comes to whoever the next superintendent is and just overall leadership in Springfield, it needs to be reflective of Springfield from top to bottom. We need people that look like everybody in the city of Springfield. And another thing that I think will help in terms of our community is taking cops out of cars and on their feet in the streets. Having our officers talk to the same people, walk the same streets. Was it? No, it's okay. Well, anyway, walking the same streets, talking to the same people will build those relationships. They will get to the root of these problems. And by having our officers, in these C3 units, I know a lot of them have been doing, pickup basketball leagues with kids in Springfield. That's beautiful. That's awesome. Because it's going to build those relationships and it's going to inspire a next generation of people who want to do this position, who want to do this job. And we need people that look like us in Springfield. We need everybody on hand, all hands on deck to come up and rise to the occasion for this. And I think it will be better in terms of all of our representation and a better mindset and a better relationship going forward.
Ms. Rivera. I will repeat the question. What opportunities and community transformation would need to exist in order for people who are black and brown to thrive in the city of Springfield?
Sorry, I'm a little deaf and blind. I think that one thing we should make sure is that someone had mentioned earlier that all the resources that are available in the city of Springfield should be available to everyone in every language. I am fortunate because I know a lot about resources. Because when I was homeless, I was able to connect to Habitat for Humanity. When I needed things for my kids in school, I knew about the counselors and the parent facilitators, and I became one. So if we know about the resources that are here in the city of Springfield, we could utilize them. And when the community comes and utilizes them, they thrive, and they can help the next generation have a better future than keeping all this wealth just to one section of our community and to one people. So I believe that that's what's more important. Make sure that everyone knows that's what's out there. And the good thing is a lot of new nonprofits coming out with a lot of different resources. And I'm so glad about that, so I got to learn about them too so I can share. I also work with the State Representative Bud Williams, and I'm his legislative aide. So all the resources that are available, I try to share and empower people, and people come to me all the time. So I really think that that's really important. Thank you.
Mr. Santinello.
Thank you. I just want to go back again to how important it is for government to put people in jobs and appointments that reflect the city. And I think that young people then will look up to those leaders and future leaders and say, I can do that too. But we have to be a government that's all-inclusive, and that's the most important thing that we can do. We have to make the city reflective on these boards and commissions as what the city is and what it looks like. And we have to start there. And then young people can see that, and they can have hope for the future, and I think that will go a long way for solving this. Thank you.
Mr. Oakley.
I'm going to be that guy and ask you to repeat the question.
The question is, what opportunities in community transformation would need to exist in order for people who are black and brown to thrive in the city of Springfield?
Yeah, I think for me, I would just go back to education. It really is such something that I think is just life-changing. I mean, once the Frederick Douglass saying, once you learn to read, you'll forever be free, that's something that really drives our organization. And if we're not, if the school system in our community isn't creating individuals that can read proficiently, how can we expect them to do anything else? If you can't read a job application, if you can't complete a resume, if you don't have literacy, it's really hard to do anything else. And then I'm going to agree with what some of the previous, I think it might have been Jose who said this, but economic empowerment I think is extremely important. I think schools like Putnam play an extremely important role in our community. I don't know if any of you, if those of you who are homeowners, if you've ever had to call an electrician or a plumber, how much they get paid. And by no means am I saying that kids shouldn't go to college. I was the first one in my family to go to college. I understand what it's done for me, but I'm also going to say college isn't for everyone. Everyone should have the chance to go to college, but everyone doesn't need to go to college to be successful. So really pushing the trades, making sure there's opportunities for folks who are getting these government contracts to really raise up our kids and raise up our youth, internship programs so they can learn those skills. I think those are critically important. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Mr. Nunez.
In my opinion, I think what it all boils down to is jobs, right? Jobs. Our city is a city of about 155,000 residents. 25% of the population of the city of Springfield lives at or below the poverty rate. Do the math. That's about 40,000 people, I believe. That's about the size of the city of Holyoke. Living at or below poverty. The family median income in the city of Springfield is about $45,000. For the state of Massachusetts, it's almost double. It's $85,000. That's a problem. To me, that tells me we're living in a marginalized community with limited resources or access to limited resources, and that's a problem. We need to create jobs. We've heard it before. A few of my colleagues have said it up here, but we, in my opinion, need to really utilize these trades. As Thomas Oakley just said, college is not for everyone, but I'll take it a step further. It's not for everyone, but education is, right? The carpenter, he had to be taught how to build that house, right? The electrician had to be taught how to wire that house. And let me tell you something. When I was a commercial lender and I reviewed some of the profit and losses for some of these carpenters and electricians, they're making bank. I'm like, why? I might have chose the wrong profession. So we need to create a pipeline, utilize the unions that we have in this community so that we can create a pipeline for our kids to go into the unions to become licensed apprentices, carpenters. In 4 years, if they go through the apprenticeship programs, they will become licensed and they will be making bank. So in my opinion, it's creation of jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Nunez.
So Councilwoman Whitfield, our next question is, as a city councilor what legislative power will you have to improve the lives of residents in the city of Springfield?
So the legislative power that we currently have is we do approve the budget, but we don't have to. If there's things in the budget like increased property tax that we don't like, we don't have to approve that budget. And contrary to the popular other councilors, I voted no on the current budget because property taxes for the 9th year are scheduled to increase. And that is my financial background. I worked for the city in finance department, so I understand the ins and outs of it. Another thing that I mentioned earlier, special permits. When organizations come into the city of Springfield or businesses and they want to open a business, they have to come to the city council for a special permit. We can say as councilors, you have to get back to our community or we're not gonna let you open that business. You have to hire locally or we're not gonna let you open that business. So we have an opportunity to do that. And then I remember someone talking about creating laws and ordinances. That is true, but the majority of the laws and ordinances come from all of you. We don't sit there day and night and look for new laws and ordinances. They come from organizations and people like you, and we take them to our law department, get them researched, and bring them back to the people, and we vote on it. And so we need all of you to bring those ideas on what's important to you. And then if it's important to us, if we agree with it, we're the ones that push it forward. So I'm just telling you from experience some of the things that we actually do. And then when it's time to vote on property tax, we have a voice. We don't have to say yes, while some did. I said no.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Whitfield. Mr. Martin.
Yeah. So first off, let me thank the councilwoman for being the first one to take a seat during this because my legs are killing me. I'm taking the knee on this one. But one tool that I think would be huge in terms of the city council could be this Community Preservation Act, the CPA. And that's, you know, the community of Atwater, when I was knocking on doors a month or so ago, they were able to identify something they wanted. They wanted a nice fountain in their community. They were able to get the amount of money they wanted to bring, and then they were able to get that grant passed on to them. So I think being able to work with community leaders, figuring out what are the projects, what are the tangible things that we want to be brought to all of our communities, at what kind of figure we can put next to it, and then how can we bring it to life? How can we see these tangible things in front of us? So I think that's a huge thing that we can do as city councilors, allocate that money in the budget for that CPA thing. And as some of the other people said, you know, use our laws and ordinances to be user-friendly to homeowners, businesses. So when people want to create new housing, when people want to start their own business, there isn't this red tape blocking them from doing that.
Ms. Rivera.
Thank you. I want to be just like Tracy. I think that, I mean, a strong woman like she is, she all right with me, Tracy. Thank you. But I just want to let you know, I think that all these vacant lots that they have, I think that we need to do more with them. We have a big homeless population. Why do we have that if we have so many vacant, some homes, some buildings, and a lot of property? We got to get together and figure out what we can do, where we can get the money, whether it's Apple money, whether it's grant money, whether it's raise money, do some fundraising, whatever we could do, and try to help these people not be homeless. I got 2 phone calls this week stating one lady is sleeping in her car. I know that feeling. I slept in a car before, so I know exactly what it's like. So I started crying hearing her story. You know what I mean? Then I got another call from a couple that are sleeping in their car also. And what's sad about some of these opportunities, if you don't have children, there's not opportunities if you're single, especially for men. So we gotta make sure we open them doors, build more homes, build more buildings. I wish I could have a building. I would work with people for 5 years, teach them education, English as a second language, some kind of trade, and help them get a job so they when they walk out that door after 5 years, now they can fend for themselves. 1 year being in a shelter or 6 months, that's not enough. We got to help people. We got to do better to help people to get on their feet and stop this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
There's a tremendous amount that a city councilor can do through positive legislation, like Tracy said. When I was on the city council, I sponsored the Department of Elder Affairs, and it passed. And I worked and worked and worked until it got funded. I passed the recall ordinance. If somebody was crooked in government, you could get rid of them now by voting against them on a special ballot. I passed the handicap parking ordinance in the city of Springfield, and I also passed the smoke detector ordinance in the city of Springfield. That saved lives, and I'm so proud that I passed all that legislation, and the city council went along with me, and they voted in favor of it, and it changed Springfield for the better.
Thank you, Mr. Oakley. Yes. As a city councilor, what legislative power will you have to improve the lives of residents in the city of Springfield?
Yeah, I know housing's been mentioned, and I do agree with a lot of the other city councilors. I think when I think of Springfield, I think about all the history and the buildings that we have here, and so many of them are sitting empty. So it's really thinking about how can we get developers excited to want to do business in Springfield. I think we have the space. It's just making sure that we as a city are ready to welcome those developers into the space. I also think the job of the city council is to create structures where people's voices are heard. How are we really being responsive? You know, when you think about the budget, right? As the saying goes, show me your budget and I know your priorities. So how are we having the community involved in that process, and how are we giving the community real decision-making power when it comes to the budgets? I think Jerry mentioned CPA, and I did go to a couple of the neighborhood councils, and those neighborhood councils were really excited about the CPA fund and really having ownership of the budget, and that is a really important role that the city council plays. The city councilors too, just to be transparent, like all of us who are running, we're one vote. So we should also be real about the power that we all have as individuals. And I think as a community, it's really important that we're voting for like-minded people that can put these type of structures in place and really do truly desire to have transparency and equity in our government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nunez.
So if we look at the responsibilities of a city councilor, the two major functions of a city councilor is approving the budget that the mayor sets forth, and as Councilor Walsh mentioned, the determination of the use of land. Those are the two major job functions. In my opinion, we have a housing crisis on our hands. We're 200,000 units short in the state of Massachusetts, and as Mr. Latore mentioned, we're 11,000 units short in Springfield alone. It's a nationwide issue. A lot of zoning ordinances right now, in my opinion, are antiquated and preventing us from building a lot more affordable housing units. We need to look at the zoning ordinances that are currently in place, and we need to loosen them up. I think someone mentioned, you know, the minimum lot requirements, for instance. I think it's getting creative. It's all hands on deck. When we have rents skyrocketing for people who live in a motorcycle building. I just heard a story the other day. We had someone that was being charged $1,000 rent. They came to me, now they're being charged $1,500. That's insane. That's insane. And it's happening because we have a shortage of housing right now in our hands. So as a city councilor, we need to really get creative in identifying ways that we can create more affordable housing units for our residents that are suffering.
Thank you.
So with 1 minute on the clock for each of you, we're going to move to our final statements, our closing statements, and we're going to begin with Councilwoman Whitfield.
So I just want to thank you all for the opportunity. I want you to please re-elect me on September 12th and then November 7th. I will continue to be transparent, open and honest with things that are going on in City Hall. I will continue to fight for economic development, reduce taxes, and I will continue to listen to the people and be there for the people. If you know me, you can call me and we will get it done. If you really truly know me, and I will continue to do that. But I'm not going to stop going to anywhere. I will go to the church and the bar. You know, I will go to the schools. I'm going to go where the people are, because the people is what matters, your voice that matters. But we got to do it together. We got to put some onus on ourselves, because I put a lot of stuff out there and invite folks to come and they don't show up. So you got to show up for us to show up for you. So I'm inviting you to call me personally when you need me. I'm inviting you to please come to the city council meetings, or even just look at them to see what we really do, because zoning, permits, budget, all that is important, but it affects you. So please come out and vote for me September 12th.
Mr. Martin.
So quickly, I just want to say thank you to Reverend Cummings. At the beginning, she said, turn that nervousness to excitement, and that's exactly what I did to get my second win. So thank you, Reverend. Then I also want to say thank you to my dear friend Isaiah Longs over the way in the back, holding my sign over there. What's up, buddy? Woo! That's a type of friendship that's just good for the soul. Been there with me every step of the way, so thank you. I will bring an unmatched dedication, passion, and optimism to our local government. I love the city of Springfield. I spent my whole life here, and I do believe our best days are ahead of us. What we need is new energy and new ideas to actualize the success that's right before us, and I will do whatever I can to bring that to the table. I want to be a part of Springfield's success, and I hope you give me the chance to do that on September 12th. Thank you.
Ms. Rivera.
Oh, boy. I got it, though.
Let me help you. Take mine. Testing.
Thank you. Well, I want to say I hope I get your vote on September 12th. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm sitting in this chair. I was a homeless teenage mother. I know how easily it is to be overlooked and be left behind. But with the help of this community, I was able to raise 3 successful kids, become a grandmother, and purchase a home with the help of others. I'm a co-founder of an elderly group called SOARS. I was also the chief coordinator for C3, as Tracy is also part of, but I was part of Forest Park C3. What? I'm already done? All right, well, you know what? If you want to learn more about me, you can call me.
Thank you very much. You want to?
No.
Time is ticking.
Again, I'm I'm Brian Santinello. I'm running for city councilor at large. I don't need any on-the-job training. I was on the city council for 24 years. I was a park commissioner for 12, chairman for 8 years. I ran the election commission for the city of Springfield, and I love this city dearly. People ask me, why are you running again? Because I can make a difference, and I really care about this city. We have some challenges ahead. We have homicides in the city of Springfield that we have to tackle. We have job creation that we have to tackle. I don't think that having MGM as the big cure-all for all the jobs in the city of Springfield is going to do it. We have to do better than that. You don't send a person to college for 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Santinello.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Oakley.
Thank you again. Just in closing remarks, I just want to say really that Springfield in my heart is just a beautiful place with beautiful people. I'm really fortunate. I'm going to call my coach out because I see him sitting back there, but Coach Anderson is here. He is my coach in high school. My mom is here, my grandfather. And really when I think back through my experience in Springfield, it really is It's the impactful people that really made a difference in my life. And honestly, there's a lot of work to do in Springfield, but Springfield also doesn't get the credit it deserves. We're talking about affordable housing, and I don't want to go back to that because I have 26 seconds, but where's Long Meadow with their affordable housing? Or where's East Long Meadow with their affordable housing? Where's Chicopee with their affordable housing? There's a bunch of other neighborhoods that can help out with some of the issues that Springfield is trying to tackle with their own, and I want to be part of the solution and help drive that effort. So vote for Thomas on September 12th. My wife and kids are running around here with flyers somewhere. If you want to learn more about me, I have business cards, and it's thomasoakleyma.com. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great evening. I'm going to hang out if people have questions. Thank you.
Hello. Well, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's wonderful to address you all. You have a big decision to make September 12th. We got a lot of good candidates that are running for office. I'm excited. I'm excited for the future of the city and the direction that we're going in. My reason for running, I had mentioned it to you before, the division that I see. Some of us went to school together. For some of us, our parents went to school together. Our kids are going to school together. Now we're going on our grandkids going to school together, right? And we still have the same division. What are we doing here? We got to figure this out. We got to figure this out. We got to figure this out for our future. It just so happens that I believe I do have the skill sets to be an effective city councilor. I mentioned to you my 2 decades of service in finance, reviewing the budget, is one of the critical job functions of a city councilor, and I've already started doing that. The other thing that I also do is I'm licensed to practice real estate. I'm a licensed real estate broker. I've had my license for 11 years. So when we talk about the determination of land use, that's right up my alley right there. So I believe I have the skill sets to be an effective city councilor, and I ask for your vote September 12th. Elect@nunez.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we end up, I just wanted to say something that Reverend Avery, you harped on when we went to break, and it's a reminder for everyone sitting in this audience tonight. Your voice is your vote. If you are not registered to vote, this is your time. September 12th is coming. It's almost just 1 month away. And we implore all of you, as you heard all of these candidates tonight, to take the time, do your research, but also go out and vote. That's the important part. So
That's right. And so I just want to echo that. Thank you. You're a wonderful co-moderator here. Because, you know, they will tell you that your vote doesn't matter, but if it doesn't matter, we wouldn't have gerrymandering and we wouldn't have people trying to keep us from voting. Each of these candidates who have been here tonight, please be sure that you listen to what they said and what they did not say. You have to be informed and educated so that you can vote for the best candidate tonight. So we want to just remind you that you can actually go back and listen to the candidates in case you missed something tonight, and tell the people who were not here to listen. I know a lot was said, and it may be a lot for you to absorb. So please make sure you go back and listen to them as well. And please make sure you register. If you know someone who is not registered, please take a form home with you so that you can register them to vote. And make sure you come out again next week. We want to see all of you out here next week because you are being educated on what is happening in our community. Thank you so much to each of the candidates for being here. We thank you, and we're going to invite Dr. Dahaji Wright to come up and close us out.
One more time, can we give our candidates another hand? Along with our moderators, can we give Dr. Curry a hand and Mr. Wesley Days Jr. another hand? We're so grateful. Thank you so much. For those of you who are watching online, we say thank you so much for being with us. Over 200 people were watching tonight, so we're grateful for your participation. So thank you, thank you, thank you for watching both Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget that you can register to vote right outside in the vestibule as you're exiting out. You can register to vote. Don't forget that the mayoral forum will take place. The mayoral forum will take place next Wednesday at 6 o'clock at the Mount Zion Baptist Church, pastored by the Reverend Dr. White, who is here on this evening. Also, for all of our people who are here tonight, on Sunday, September the 3rd, the Pastors Council, NAACP, Pioneer Valley Project, and others are coming together and asking those who are going to worship to, as soon as you leave church on the 3rd of September, souls to the polls. We're going to go down to City Hall and we're going to vote. All right? So that's September the 3rd. So don't forget that, souls to the polls on September the 3rd. Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to register to vote. Don't forget that this is an important election. This is an important election, and all of our voices matter. We want to thank our sponsors for being here tonight. Thank you so much. Pioneer Valley Project, the Divine Nine, Delta Sigma Theta. Thank you to the NAACP along with the Pastors Council. We're getting ready to stand. As you are exiting out the building, please, ma'am, please, sir, our staff here at St. John works tirelessly, so I'm going to ask that you leave out as soon as you can. Amen. I want to be able to lock these doors. If I turn the lights off on you, that means you have stayed too long. So before we leave, wait a minute, you're still in church. Don't leave just yet. Let me pray you out, because you don't know what you might encounter when you leave out of here. Let me pray for you. God, we thank you for your presence. We thank you for your peace. We pray your blessings upon us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Go in peace. To all of our sponsors, Don't forget that we're meeting in the conference room as soon as this is over with. Don't forget that we're meeting in the conference room really quickly.